a brief introduction of the topics and items on the agenda. There will be 3 topics: green transition, green chemicals, and green hydrogen economy. And we have also prepared for you a banquet at night, and also we've prepared for you beautiful lunch. We hope that you have a pleasant day today. But without further ado, we will start the first session on the theme of green transportation. I will invite Professor from Tongji University, who is also from the National New Energy and Vehicle Synergy Collaboration Research Institute. He's the director of the institute, Professor Zhuoping. He's going to talk about the new energy vehicle industry's development opportunities under carbon peaking and carbon neutrality goals. Professor Yu, the floor is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Chen, friends, good morning. I'm really happy to be invited by Anglo America to attend the session as we are ready for the Shanghai Platinum Week. During the tea break, we actually got the chance to see the various applications in various fields of PGM. It is fair to say that auto market represents one of the biggest application fields of PGMs, roughly accounting for around the globe less than 30% representing, it is fair to say, one of the biggest application fields. As you know, that the 3-way catalyst PGMs are used in order to achieve catalysis and purification of car exhaust. So auto market represents one of the most important application fields again for PGMs. I'm going to talk about the development opportunities of the new energy industry under the carbon neutral and carbon peaking goals, because when I was given the topic, actually, Mr. Chen Wei asked me to talk about the car industry in general. The slides has been used by me for the past 8 years. It's one of my favorite slides, talking about the car industry and its development outlook. I don't think we are at any peaking point or turning point for the car industry yet. We are a long way behind. We are very far behind. Currently, people say that the market is around 30 million, and some say that we're already reaching the ceiling. However, I would still say that the ceiling is still far above, unless China's economy stop here. If the Chinese economy were to grow or is to grow, the ceiling of 30 million is going to be overcome, or we will go beyond the ceiling of 30 million. So according to the New Energy Vehicle Technology Pathway 2060, by 2020, the number will reach and exceed 30 million. However, currently as the status quo, due to pandemic, we haven't reached the figure yet, but I'm confident that we will exceed 30 million, and I'll expect that the number will be 40 million by 2030. I'm very much confident about it, but we are facing lots of challenges, including, among others, carbon emissions. Globally, we are seeing the electrification transition that was mentioned by Professor Chen in his presentation, including, among others, the energy transition. As a result of carbon emissions reduction requirements around the world, more than 100 countries have committed to achieving carbon neutrality and carbon peak. And in China, President Xi promised that we are going to achieve carbon peak by 2030 and carbon neutrality by 2060. Under this background, or against this background, China is facing tremendous pressure to bring the carbon emissions down. As the scenes today, currently, we emit about 12 to 12.5 billion tons of CO2, and by 2030, we must limit the emissions at 13 billion tons. And after that, we need to bring the emissions down dramatically, while in the meantime, we are still seeking to grow the economy of course, in a low carbon way instead of in a high carbon way. And in the 30 years from 2030 to 2060, the 13 billion tons of CO2 emissions must be brought down to around 1 billion. So it is fair to say that the road ahead is full of difficulties, and auto industry is a very important industry. At the very beginning of this century, the Chinese government has plotted this chart with 3 verticals and 3 horizontals, representing 3 different types of new energy vehicles and 3 different types of technology pathways. And among the 3 different types of new energy vehicles, hybrid is closely related to PGMs, and fuel cell vehicles is even more closely tied to PGMs. So I would like to say a few words about how I think about the development opportunities of the 3 different types of new energy vehicles. First, regarding new energy vehicle and its definition, currently we are still in a fast-growing stage for new energy vehicle in general. Last year, the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology. Well, by the way, the government tends to be very conservative in giving its guideline. They want to make sure that they outreach their target. So in 2020, when there was a 5-year plan for new energy vehicle, the goal was by 2022, 20% of the auto are going to be new energy vehicles, including the 3 different types of new energy vehicles. However, we have achieved the goal 3 years in advance last year. And currently, the government is working on a 3-year action plan proposing a new target for 2025 of 40% of new energy vehicles. And a lot of people think that we will exceed the figure of 40%, but I still think that the government is going to set the goal for at 40%. Well, at least when it communicates the message to the outside world. That's why I'm seeing that new energy vehicle market is experiencing very good momentum in China. In the previous couple of years, the market is predominantly driven by policy. But currently, we're talking about the dual driver of policy and market, and we are gradually shifting towards a stage where market will play a more predominant role. So, in terms of the subsidies, except for subsidies to fuel cell vehicles, subsidies to pure EV as well as the PHEV have been removed. Of course, for indirect subsidies will continue until 2025. However, direct subsidies to the 2 different types of new energy vehicles have already been removed. We talk about whether the removal of subsidy means that new energy vehicle is going to reach a standstill. However, things are not it was not the case from the data that we've collected for the previous 5 months. The market is still growing fast. However, the market has become very interesting. Why? I didn't turn the figures on the left-hand side of the slide into bar charts. If I turn it into a bar chart, you will see that A-class vehicles account for more than 50% of the entire passenger vehicle market. However, if you take a look at the bar chart, it's the other way around. It means that in the A-class market, electrification proportion is the lowest, whereas electrification for higher end, including B-class and C-class market, is higher. In terms of new energy vehicle, actually, A-class vehicles represents the biggest market, whereas the higher-end vehicles represent a smaller market. In other words, the demand and the overall trend, they are separate or they are opposite. That's why I'm saying tremendous opportunities exist there. Let's take a look at why electrification of vehicles develops very good in both the very high end and very low end. In terms of the high end market and in terms of the very low end market, as represented by Tesla and Wuling's Mini UV. For the Mini UV, the very low end vehicle, it gives you 100 kilometers mileage. That's enough for your daily commuting. So they sell the car at below 50,000 RMB, which is very low cost. As for Tesla, Tesla was sold at least 300,000 RMB, as it guarantees, by defining myself as a high-end vehicle, I'll guarantee you mileage of 500 kilometers. Of course, with corresponding sales. So that's the high-end market strategy. But personally, I echo the strategy taken by the low-end vehicle manufacturers. In other words, a guarantee of 100-kilometer mileage with the installation of around 10 kilowatt hour sales. I'm not that much for the high-end strategy. Why? I've been in the auto industry ever since I started my career. All the engineers want to make cars lighter, as when the cars get lighter, energy will be saved. Electrification only takes care of the concerns of mileage, but it doesn't take into consideration the need to go lighter. So personally, I don't echo this strategy. And personally, I think going forward, the things or the trend is going to turn the other way around. So for A-class or vehicles when they're sold around 100,000 RMB, electrification is impossible. However, the consumers need electrification. Consumers of A-class cars need electrification the most.
And I think small cars can be a new development potential. In China, the A0 or A-class cars is not in the dominant position, but with the development of electrification, now we have Wuling and Geely and Changchun, Great Wall, and Chang'an. So all these major car makers in China are making the A0 cars. I believe this is a new growth potential. As I mentioned, the ownership should go to 40 million, and I believe there is an extra 10 million ownership of A0 cars. And we should remember there, in China, there is an ownership of 8 million motor cars. So if the motor cars can be upgraded to the A0 cars, then it can add to this market as well. And if we look at the daily usage of the cars, 90% of the cases, the mileage is about 100 kilometers. So why should we have so many? Should we have a car equipped with so many batteries, while the most use case is within 100 kilometers? So I believe that if the most cases is within 100 mileage, then you can buy a A0 car, you can own an A-class car, but if in 10% of the time you are going to maybe travel, then you can actually add a extra exchange range motor to this car, so that you can meet the demand of the long range travel. And with that exchange range motor, then you can ensure the long range of the car, and 90% of your user cases, as I mentioned, is within 100 kilometers. So I have been advocating this for the whole time, and I also hope that there can be a lot more followers who can really make a change to the market. I'm going to elaborate on this later in this slide. It would also require that each household has a charging port. So every day the car needs to be charged, and the next day the car will have a renewal of the mileage. So in this case, we need the infrastructure to follow up with this trend. The BYD Qing Plus has already shown this trend. This is this is best-selling car, one of the best-selling cars of BYD. The lowest price is set at a little bit below 100,000 RMB. Also, the EV version of BYD Qing Plus is not taking much of the sales, and at the moment now the EREV is becoming dominant in the A-class cars, and I believe this trend will continue. So maybe this an exchange range motor can be transformed into a fuel cell car in the future. So that's why I am very confident in the development of fuel cell cars. So there are a few features of the fuel cell cars. It has a very long range, meets certain market segments. We are all discussing which solution is the best, the PHEV, BEV, or EREV. So there are many solutions, and people hold different views. But if we jump out from the automotive industry,
它会成为主流。就是刚才陈院士讲的，氢的这个灵活性、氢的可储存性，它一定是使得未来的可再生能源将来它是一个主力军。那么用氢这个做媒介，它可以大规模的储能，储太阳能的发电的电能，储风电发电的电能，把它转换成氢气存储下来。因为电不可储存，而且可再生能源的不稳定性，使得可再生能源的发展现在受到比较大的障碍。但是呢，引入氢的这个新的产业，那将来是大规模的用光伏、用风能的这个主要的解决方案。所以从这点上来讲，氢能这个产业会在碳的目标下面成为一个新型的能源结构。新型的能源结构。从中国来看的话，我们说预计到碳中和的时候，中国的氢能大概是1.3亿吨的这个氢能的这个产业。那么实际上你算下来也是10几万亿的一个新的产业群，那么这里可以看到，氢能在交通领域里面正在稳步的推进。第一个，大家可以看到，全球现在有6万多辆燃料电池汽车，中国呢是1万多辆。原来大家都抱怨是氢能基础设施跟不上来，大家都是这样抱怨的。但是下面一张图大家可以看到，加氢的基础设施啊，在中国的发展的速度非常快，现在远远已经快于燃料电池汽车的增长了。1万多辆的燃料电池汽车，现在我们有300多个加氢站。全球拿掉1万多辆的话，全球还有5万多辆这个燃料电池汽车。现在大家可以看到800个加氢站，当然刨掉中国的只有500多个加氢站。所以呢，这里面可以看到加氢站的建设现在已经跑到燃料电池汽车的前面去了。所以我说，我们搞汽车的人不要再抱怨了。这个氢能这个产业现在由于碳排放的压力，所以中国的能源工业在积极的应对转型，所以呢，应该他们的速度在加快。从这个碳中和目标下的这个我们讲，这个就是说它的这个汽车的发展来看，我们认为有4000万吨的氢气将来会消耗在我们车的这个交通这个领域。那么现在几乎是零，所以这就是一个强劲的这个增长点。中国呢，应该说对燃料电池汽车的发展的政策，从2000年开始，这个世纪开始一直到现在，应该来讲持续的在推进。当然了，非常难，就是讲一个整个产业生态要改变，它甚至比纯电动汽车还难，因为充电的基础设施电是到处在普及的，而氢现在还是在逐渐的这个建设过程中。所以呢，我们讲整个这个生态还是蛮难的，尽管政策很好，包括现在我们讲这个科技引领、创新引领，现在科技部有2个专项对这个氢能与燃料电池在支持，一个是新能源汽车里面的燃料电池汽车这个板块， 还有一个就是氢能专门有一个专项，把氢能从可再生能源里面提出来，设立了一个单独的专项，所以可见应该来讲，氢能与燃电池这个产业在国家这个层面上还是非常受到重视的。那么刚才讲到这个已经停补了，但是呢，燃电池还没停，但是呢，它又不是一个普及性的运动，现在呢还是比较小，它是以示范城市群的建设为目标，在推动燃电池建设的。我觉得这个行动啊，有一点像我们当年推新能源汽车的10成千辆，当时是讲在10个城市里面我们来支持，但是大家知道到后期的时候铺开来了，不受城市的限制，不受千辆的限制，所以使得我们国家的新能源汽车发展得更快。现在呢是以示范城市群的形式，我相信将来的示范城市群不是现在的5个，会越来越多，越来越多以后呢，那补贴的这个范围就会大，量就会多。比如说现在在这个山东就有一个特别的行动计划，叫氢净万家。这个就是说，燃料电这个氢能就不光是在交通里面，是在这个工业里面，在建筑里面，它都推开来，在示范应用。所以呢，应该来讲，国家一方面在推动技术的进步，推动创新的发展，同时呢又在推动这个应用的这个发展。当然，这里面实际上这里面一个就是燃料电池汽车，我说为什么现在发展慢呢？主要是我们现在很集中的力量在推重卡、重型商用车的发展，这个非常对，减排的效果非常大，但是量很难上去，因为重卡的这个总的用量还是受限的。而现在的燃料电池现在面临的挑战，除了加氢的基础设施以外，实际上很大的一个挑战是燃料电池的成本。而燃料电池的成本，如果说你的批量不上去，规模不上去，你降不下成本，这就是一对大的矛盾。所以我们拼命的在重卡里面推，我讲战略上是对的，战术上我认为是值得我们去思考的。因为战术上现在就是说，你重卡上不了规模，上不了量，它的成本就仍然居高不下，所以我一直个人建议，一个很重要的发展这个点，不是完全集中在重卡上，而是要关注轿车，要关注城市里面用的这种运营的轿车。这个运营的轿车，像上海8万辆城市网约车。8万辆城市网约车在跑，那么这些车一天就是要跑300-500公里，实际上用燃料电池非常适合。我就刚才讲，配20来度电，加一个小的燃料电池增程器，就能够满足你一天300-500公里，一点没有续航里程的担忧。那么这是一个非常好的解决方案。所以我最近一直在呼吁，在一些合适的城市里面搞所谓的100站万辆的计划，建100个加氢站。推动1万辆城市网约车的这个应用，如果能够实现这一步，燃料电池的成本会有一个跳跃式的下降、阶跃式的下降。这样的话，使得燃料电池这个产业的发展，我认为会加速。所以呢，从整个产业政策来看的话，就是我刚才讲，第一个还是要普及充电基础设施在社区里面的建设。这样的话，插电增程、小型的电动车。那就是非常受欢迎的，而且在加强这个我们讲燃料电池的这个加氢基础设施的建设，同时呢，把这个我们讲把这个碳排放的交易再搞得更完整一点，那么绿氢的发展就会更快。所以呢，从这点上来讲，我相信未来的汽车这个行业，那么铂金会比现在的内燃机用的还更多，因为我相信走纯电动化的路线，随着这个氢能这个产业的发展，慢慢它会转向到。当然了，动力电池这个产业一定是会蓬勃发展，它会所有的车上将来都有一块动力电池，这用不着去矛盾性的竞争。总的来讲，这个新能源汽车这个发展，电动化的发展一定是未来的主流。好，谢谢大家。